Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. Welcome to English Grade 8 video lecture series. I'm your instructor Zahmeed. I hope that you're doing well. Students, for our very first lecture of Unit 12, we are going to cover a student's learning outcome of grammar. And today we are going to talk about the learning outcome, the SLO on conjunctions. So let's see what we have to do today. So we have two SLOs that are on the same topic. Recognize and use subordinating conjunctions to connect independent clause or clauses to dependent clauses. It means that we use subordinating conjunction, which is one of the three types of conjunctions in parts of speech, and we use them to connect clauses. And we know that clauses are dependent or independent. So to connect these dependent and independent clauses, we need subordinating conjunctions. Next, the learning outcome: examine and interpret the use of conjunctions and transitional devices in speech and writing to create the effect. Definitely, linking words, the transitional words, they leave a very good impact on the reader or the listener. So, again, we are going to see what are conjunctions, or they are also called transitional devices because they are used to transition between or link different words, phrases, or ideas together. Now, students, the learning outcome is clear. Let's explore conjunctions in detail according to the SLO. Here is your vertical linkage that links your SLO with the previous grade. And now, students, let's talk about and let's recall conjunctions and transitional devices. Now, who is going to tell me what is a conjunction? Or what are some transitional words or transitional devices? Yes, students, conjunction is one of the parts of speech, and they are the words that join or link ideas or things together. For example, we have conjunctions like for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. These are coordinating conjunctions. Then we have subordinating conjunctions like while, because, after, meanwhile, etc. And then we have correlative conjunctions. They work in pairs, either or, whether or, neither nor, etc. So we have covered in one of the past lectures about conjunctions and their types. We are focusing on subordinating conjunctions, right? So when we are focusing on subordinating conjunctions, we know that they are used for connecting dependent and independent clauses. And we will also see a list of these subordinating conjunctions. So I hope that now you have recalled with me conjunctions and transitional words like therefore, so, because, meanwhile, thus. All these are transitional words, and you can find them in your text, in your lesson, in stories, and even in non-fiction text. Now, students, let's talk about analyzing and interpreting the use of conjunctions and transitional devices with our activity. Now, be ready and prepared. We are going to fill in the blanks with suitable transitional words. Number one, she got the job. The fact that she had very little experience. So what is the transitional word that we are going to put over here? She got the job. The fact that she had very little experience. So we can use word like though, next, my sister's handwriting is always so neat. Mine is a total mess. You can use transitional word like whereas, or on the other hand. It's a transitional device. It's a phrase. So whereas mine is a total mess. So since we are comparing it, and when we are using this transitional word. I lost the game, but I told myself that I had improved a lot. And let's think about it. Either way, or after all. So what is the transitional device that we are going to add over here? You had better wear a helmet when you go motorcycling. Now, we can say otherwise you could hurt yourself. Reading is an excellent way to increase your vocabulary. Furthermore, or in addition, it can also help you improve your grammar. Now, have you thought about this one yet? Let's understand this. I lost the game, but I told myself that I have improved a lot. So we can use word like either way. This is a transitional phrase that we can use. Otherwise. So now students, I hope that you have got the answers right. We have solved this activity over here. Now let's think about conjunctions. So now a subordinating conjunction comes at the start of a dependent clause, and a dependent clause is also known as subordinating clause. In order to join it to a grammatically more important independent clause. For example, we can also call independent clause as the main clause because it's acting as the main one and it is independent. It means a clause which has a subject and a verb, if it is understandable without anything, without any addition or any other clause, it is called an independent clause or the main clause. But if the clause needs some extra information, it needs some words or phrase, then we call it dependent clause. So to connect these two, we use subordinating conjunction. So you can memorize this usage of subordinating conjunction because it is linked with subordinating clause. So subordinating conjunction goes with subordinating and main clause. Here is a very easy way to memorize this relationship and use the subordinating conjunctions correctly. Now, students, here are some examples of subordinating conjunctions in practice. So, now we have two clauses. One of them is dependent and one of them is independent. And we have our conjunction because it is linking this part with this one. Because the copier isn't working properly, it is incomplete, totally dependent. The technician is coming. This is the independent clause. It makes complete sense. But this part is not working. So we join them together, and subordinating conjunction always comes at the start of the subordinating clause. Another example is before we have the meeting. Students, I would like to ask you, is it a dependent clause or an independent clause? Very good. This is a dependent clause because we have our subordinating conjunction over here. So you can call it a dependent clause or subordinating clause. And this part is understood on its own. let's discuss the main points we want to make. Does it make sense? Hence, this is independent clause or main clause. You can start this course. Independent clause. If you have passed introduction to economics, main clause. This is dependent clause or subordinating clause. And where is the conjunction? If. This is a condition. It's a conditional that we have used over here because the sentence required so. Now students, here is a list of common subordinating conjunctions that we need to memorize and use them in our sentences. So it's very important that you understand the use, the function of each of these subordinating conjunctions and practice with examples. So here we can see after, although, as if, as long as, because, lest, till, and all of these are your subordinating conjunctions. Now let's talk about the difference. The main difference between an independent clause and a dependent clause is that an independent clause can stand alone as a complete sentence, while a dependent clause cannot. And where do we use our subordinating conjunction? With the dependent clause. And the dependent clause always comes before, at the start of the dependent clause. Now, here is an example. This is an example of independent clause. Next Tuesday will be my first day at my new job. Does it make complete sense? Yes. Dependent clause. If the interview goes well, next Tuesday will be my first day at my new job. Now, this part over here is the dependent clause. We have our subordinating conjunction if at the start of the dependent clause or subordinating clause. So students, in this way we can link and make sense of these of dependent and independent clause together. So dependent clause is also called subordinating clause and main clause is also called independent clause. So you can call them by both of these names and never to be confused one with the other. Now students, let's talk about this activity. It's up to you to identify dependent and independent clauses from the following. Now read this as quickly as possible and find out, and on the way also point out the subordinating conjunctions if there is any. Now, for the next classroom activity, I hope that you have done the previous one correctly. Choose the correct form of the verb and complete the paragraph. For example, Pakistanis have a special place for food in their heart. If you are with someone's house or a wedding ceremony, yourself for a big feast. Let's solve this. So if you are, our verb is visit. But what is the right form of verb that we are going to use? So if you are visiting in the continuous, so if you are visiting someone's house or a wedding ceremony, prepare yourself for a big feast. Yes, prepare. So we will have the same verb without changing any form. So solve the rest of the blanks by yourself. And for the homework students, as you can note in the book, you have two homeworks. One is to make sentences using dependent and independent clauses in your notebook. And what is the conjunction that we are going to use? Subordinating conjunction. Homework number 2 is write about particular customs of the area in which you live using simple present tense. So we know that simple present tense is all about present. It is about using the first form of the verb with addition of s or es according to the pronoun, according to the subject, either it's singular or plural. So solve these two homeworks and practice your learned lesson for today. This is your worksheet, students, and let's introduce you with all these resources that we will have. You can get it from the description of the video. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that we have achieved our students' learning outcome about conjunctions, and specifically subordinating conjunctions to be used with dependent and independent clauses. I'll see you in the next video lesson. Till then, Allah Hafiz.